Hi, I'm Nigel Castro,
And I'm Jay Mercado.
and we're two-thirds of the band Xeria.
What do you love most about the Bronx?
The food.
I'm going to second that and say the food as well.
What kind of food?
Like, definitely like the pizza. There's been like this whole Bronx versus Brooklyn in regards to like who has the best pizza, but Bronx has it hands down for sure.
I'm going to say the Chinese food. Since I moved to Brooklyn, the Chinese food's just not, it doesn't hold the candle.
Where do you go to get your pizza and where do you go to get your Chinese food?
All right, for the pizza, there was this pizzeria that I grew up at. It's not too far from Yankee Stadium. So like if you take the D or the 4 train to 161st Yankee Stadium, and you just walk straight up, there's a pizzeria. Forgot the name of it though, but it has one of the best slices ever.
Yeah, there was a Chinese place on Castle Hill. What was it called? Sabrasura, I think. It was near my dad's place. That's where we used to get it from. It was a lot of just really good Chinese food. Yeah.
Do you remember your first addresses, your first homes in the Bronx?
So it's been at Walton Avenue, right? I've been there from since I was a baby, all the way up to age 26, and then I moved out to Parkchester.
I was in the Pelham Bay Park area, and then I moved to the South Bronx, near the Bronx Zoo, then back to Castle Hill, back to the Bronx Zoo, then back to Castle Hill, now in Brooklyn. It's a lot of shifting in my life. I'd like to think the Bronx has toughened me up in some shape, way, or form, because I'm not a very big person, a very muscular person. So it's very easy for a guy of my build to be picked on and stuff like that. And numerous times in high school, I was accosted on my way home. So those kind of encounters. Other thing that going through that and experiencing that kind of forced me to become a tougher person. And I mean, I haven't experienced that since. Especially because my dad, when I lived on Castle Hill, it was right across the street from projects. It's like coming home late at night from work or what have you. You know, it's not the kindest of areas, but you kind of just no one messed with me because I just kind of had this kind of fuck off kind of attitude. So yeah, that's how it attributed to my growth as a person, I think.
Growing up in a neighborhood that I spent pretty much my entire life at, I had the opportunity to see the neighborhood change, right? So it was definitely this whole hardcore kind of scene, with your rap and hip hop kind of culture going on. And then as I got older, that kind of toned down, and then you started seeing more skateboarders showing up, and interesting shift to kind of experience. When it comes down to it, I would say that the whole culture shift definitely allowed us to become these more broader people, right? Because now we have your rap music, and then you have your metal music or your rock music, and different interests that just came together.
Yeah.
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 You said growing up in the South Bronx was weird when you thought about it. What did you mean by that?
I think it's weird because where I'm at now, it's seeing all the experiences and the awkwardness of my childhood versus the person that I've become in growing up in the Bronx and then moving, traversing different boroughs and seeing all the boroughs and whatnot. It's this is how I act normally in the Bronx. If I act these ways in other boroughs, it feels weird because the environments are different, Grew up moving around, and I knew that for a long time, which is why I think touring with, bands and music and stuff like that would be easier because it's something I'm already used to. But I do want to, it's that coming home to just that constant, everything is here. I don't have to worry about going anywhere. That's what it is, really, I guess.
Oh man, so I must have been about 5 years old and seeing the Crossroads. These two guys just show up and start playing the guitar. I was completely mesmerized by the sounds that were coming out of these instruments. They were just 6 strings that was able to produce this magic that I felt. I knew that was something that I at some point in my life had to do. And even then, being 5 years old, I didn't know that it was even called a guitar, right? Eventually, as I got older, that was my primary interest when it came to music.
So I picked up the guitar in the first place because of women. And that's the honest truth of it. There was a girl at the time that I was seeing, and I wanted to write her a song, so I told my mother, hey, I want a guitar. I lied, I want a guitar because I want to learn how to play, and just, my uncle plays it, so it's I want to learn. So got the guitar, started learning. It's like, oh, it's really cool. Wrote my first song, which is, I think, like 3 chords still. It's like G, E, D, and that's it. So yeah, a couple of months after that, her and I separated and went back to the guitar, just kind of like kept playing. And it was at that moment I realized, like, oh, women will come and go, but this will be a constant for me. So I got a few chords from my uncle. So he taught me a few things. And after that, I was like, I think I'm good to fly on my own. Hot shot, teenage guitar player. I think I know it all. 4 chords and you're good. And then I kind of like started actually like reading up on things and getting technique down and pattern and proper wrist orientation, because there was a point where I had a bit of carpal tunnel.
My parents always allowed me to like pursue whatever I was interested in. I'm a first generation U.S. citizen, right? My mom was born in Guatemala, my dad was born in Belize, Central America, so to speak. In those 2 countries, there's this genre called punta rock, which was actually founded by one of their friends. His name is Andy Palacio. From what I was told, I was a baby, so I couldn't remember. He actually came to my house and crashed for a while, and would actually like play some of his songs before he would go over to his concerts. So yeah, like they would have his CDs and some other CDs from our culture, and like we'll play like almost every weekend, especially like during the Sundays when my mom would start cleaning and stuff. Not a week went by without any kind of music whatsoever that was being played from my mom or my dad.
Being self-taught, I think it's the best route for me. But I do enjoy teaching people who are interested, if not just the basics, and then if they feel comfortable with just the basics and want to go on, then by all means. I'm not going to limit you, like, hey, this is how I play guitar. I'm not going to teach you my style. It's my style. Playing guitar for over 10 years now. I have my sound. It's a combination of that rage into that sadness, into maybe things will be all right in the future. It's kind of, it's like a storm. It's at its worst. The damage has been done, and you're kind of like going through that, and then at the end of it, you're just like, okay. So, out of those 2 things came this really cool thing, being in the form of music or whatever thing I've worked on rather. So I have this 10-year plan that if things don't work out, music-wise and band-wise, my plan is to move out to Oregon or Seattle. Or no, Seattle, Washington, I'll say. I'm gonna start anew, in my mid-30s. All the images of the Redwoods or the Valley of the Giants, I like that imagery. So I feel like that would be a good place for me to go. Leaving, all this stone and metal and concrete, and to go somewhere that's a bit more natural feeling. When it comes to songwriting, it's kind of the same thing. Again, previous band was a concept band. I like stories. I like any kind of work of fiction. If I can adapt that into music in any shape, way, or form. I'm going to reference Coheed and Cambria here because that's what that essentially is. That's a combination of having the childlike love of comic books and superheroes, and that kind of like, I can make my own music in a very, very adult kind of fashion. I can comprehend things, meshing those 2 worlds together, and that's what you get. And that's been my style for the last 6 years. I wasn't always a concept guy at first.
I've been a techie for as long as I can remember. Uncle Tony, he was the first person to introduce me to a computer, because it's like the early 1990s. Like we had like these little blips on the screen, and it was very entertaining to me as a kid, right? And he like showed me like all the cool stuff in the games that could be played on it. I just wanted to like sit there and not leave at all. I didn't get a computer until I was like 11 years old. We would play these games, but I was always like just veer off into different electronics and what have you. When I was 14, when my dad took my brother and I to a computer show, in which we saw they had all of these computer parts, and he got us some motherboards and some computer cases and hard drives, and we actually built our computers from scratch. So I definitely have some audio interfaces where I can jot down my guitar ideas, plug in my guitar to the audio interface, and plug that into the computer, just start recording some riffs, and then I'll send it over to Jay and be like, hey Jay, what do you think about this?
I think it's more so just like having my stuff together, in that sense. It's like I have moved out here. I don't have to rely on anyone except for myself, maybe my roommate in some cases. But it's kind of like, okay, I need to make sure everything I'm doing is where it needs to be before I do anything else,
In 2008, I graduated from Cardinal Hayes High School, also located in the Bronx. I graduated in 2007, actually, but I maintained a good contact with some of the members of the faculty, and we had The director of technology at the time, his name was Mr. Frank Moscow, sent me a message through my college email saying like, hey, I would like to have a technical support specialist, help me over the summer. Would you be interested in doing something like that? And I was like, hell yeah. I spent my junior and senior year in high school in this computer club, setting up the new infrastructures and stuff like that. And my first guitar was this Behringer electric guitar that had like a USB port. So you can actually skip the audio interface thing. You get to plug it right into the computer and start, recording some stuff. Granted, it wasn't like a very good first guitar. Like it hardly held its tuning. Like you would start playing and you could hear it lose its tuning as you're playing. And like it was like a very interesting experience, like, be able to like reward myself, my love of working in technology, and then reinvesting that into my love of music.
You're also a bit of a workaholic.
Yes.
What kind of effect has that had on your personal life? And I'm also a workaholic.
Yeah.
How does that? Do you think it works for you?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I find being workaholic is good. I find it to be a good thing, a good characteristic. And you put your all into it. I can't tell you how many like sleepless nights that I've had. It fatigues you. But by the end of whatever it is you're working on, you see the results of that, and that fatigue feels justified. But it's like when you're fatigued going through your normal routine and going home and just picking back up what you've done, and you're just like totally exhausted. And it's like, aside from the fatigue, like you don't really have time for me, I don't have much time for anything. It's like I don't really hang out as much, I don't really go out as much. It's like I go to work, come home, lock myself in my room, play the guitar for however long, and then kind of just sit there, just like, it's already like 10 o'clock. Where did my day go? And you spend the rest of that time still working on your thing. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, it's 4 a.m. I have to go to sleep and wake up for work in 3 hours. So it's good, but it's what I deem as a necessary evil.
I am indeed a workaholic. So my typical day would be like, get up, get ready for work, go to work really hard, right? And then I would like just come straight home, maybe nap for about 15 minutes before I would work out. And then after working out, just practice my guitar. And then after practicing guitar, just like learning like, new programming exercises and different methodologies and stuff like that. And maybe about like an hour of like video games before I start falling asleep with my controller in hand.
You're a pretty good cook, apparently. No one has died from any of the...
Including myself. I like to say I'm a pretty good cook. That might pale in comparison to other folks. But I think I'm fairly good.
Favorite dish?
I make a pretty good steak. I make a wicked steak.
So I'm currently a test engineer at this company called Intersection. My primary duty is writing test software for the Android tablet for this big thing that you might have seen around New York City called the Link NYC free Wi-Fi. Me and my development team, we actually have been working on that since like 2015. It was one summer, maybe it was that same summer when I got my first guitar. Jay and I had like, went to the beach with a couple of other friends of ours, and he was talking about music, and I was like, yeah, dude, by the way, I got my first guitar. And he was like, word? I was like, yeah. So he was like, we gotta play. And immediately after that, like we like set up some time where I went over to his house, and I had like a couple of questions. It's like, like how do I do this power chord thing? And Jay would be like, it's done like this. So whatever I learned from that day, like I would like just like go straight home and start practicing like, for hours on end. I started practicing with Jay like almost immediately. One of my like biggest drivers, like, become as good as possible at the guitar was when Jay, at the time, he was in this project, in this band called Everlasting Silence, right? I don't know if you remember that one. A band member of theirs, also a guitarist, had left, and Jay had, pitched to me like, hey, would you mind taking this place? He was like, hey, like, like we have an opening, right, for a guitar player. Like, would you mind playing? I was like, sure. It was literally that simple. I wasn't nervous or anything. Like, it just felt like a natural thing to do. My many inspirations from like Nirvana to like the Japanese band, the Gazette. I've seen many bands. My original interest in learning the guitar was like playing like, punk rock and a lot of like just power chords like for days on end. It was one of the cool things because Nirvana, who pretty much built their career with this like, simplistic style, but still be able to like transmit this raw energy to like audiences was something that drew me to them. So like being able to play songs like Smells Like Teen Spirit and Lithium, it was like a really cool exercise for me, and at the same time be able to like harness that energy and be able to like learn or make some new songs that kind of like have that same style. Like even now when like Jay and I write some songs together, and it's like from scratch, like you could kind of get like a little bit of like Nirvana, flavor in it. I didn't get to see like, bands like Iron Maiden. I know that they came here like earlier this year, but I definitely want to see them. I know I was like way too busy, but I did get to see like other cool bands like, there's this other Japanese band called Ayabe. I got to see them. It was pretty cool. Oh yeah, and I did get to see the Gazette. That was amazing.
Music inspirations for Jay.
Okay, I'm gonna give you 5 quick.
As many as you want.
I'm gonna give you like the absolute.
That's fine.
So Coheed and Cambria, definite. Iron Maiden, of course. Opeth definitely works its way in there. A UK band called Dorje, and Devin Townsend, Canadian.
You've seen Iron Maiden live, and you haven't. How do you feel about that?
Oh man, I was so upset.
He was not supposed to come with us.
Yeah,
But you couldn't make it.
I couldn't make it.
At least you were in bed.
Yeah.
Ghost opened up for them. So it was a really sick show. I wish we were there.
Let's see. Currently, I do like this song called Graveless by Periphery. Almost messed up there.
That is a good song.
And Harbinger by Process a Hero. Like, there's some very like energetic songs that I like to practice.
Hardest question in the world for me. I'm gonna say right now, from the band Dorje, they have a song called "Flower of Life" that is really speaking to me because the guitar solo on it is wicked, like Middle Eastern sounding. It's really cool. Yeah, so "Flower of Life."
Okay, so Harbinger actually has like a cool story behind that one. So the band Protest a Hero actually like reached out to the fans and said, "Hey guys, what would you like to hear?" Right? And they took all of the feedbacks and pretty much like composed it in that way. So like they got the screamings, they got the solos, they got the breakdowns and everything else. And to be able to like just like deliver to their fans exactly what they asked for and have it be like this like beautiful piece of composition was simply amazing to me. And yeah, like I listen to that almost every day.
Any major fuck-ups live?
Live, for me, no. In the studio, yes. Loads of times. The best one, I'll say, was me and Nigel and our vocalist at the time, Sarah, were rehearsing, and I missed a note in my solo, and I lost my mind. Took off my guitar, leaned up against the amp, and sat behind the amplifier for about 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, that was... Yeah, I beat myself up.
Live, let's see. I remember like missing a couple chords when playing Pale Horse. Right?
I know when he messes up.
But the cool thing, right, was that a lot of people heard it for the first time, so they didn't even notice that I messed
Yeah,
up.
he looked over to the other side of the stage, and I'm just like...
You guys learned from that.
You just keep practicing. And I mean, we do mess up even in the studio, and I usually just keep it going.
Yeah.
So you learn to roll with it and kind of banter off.
Yeah, like it's all about being able to recover. Like that's
That's what matters the most. Like, you will mess up, but just if you can recover well, then you're fine.
In terms of musical collaboration outside of your genre, like a Jay-Z and a Linkin Park, do you guys envisioning yourself ever doing that in terms of going away from the melancholy, oppressive tone and what have you? Do you ever see that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to working with different artists in any shape, way, or form.
What's next for you guys? What do you guys have coming up? New EP, tour dates, recording, what's coming?
We're getting back into the studio hopefully soon, and working on new songs. We do want to put an EP out in 2018. We're going to remaster 2 of the songs off of the old EP, and then add maybe 3 new ones, possibly. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of extra stuff. I might do some in-betweener tracks or just ambient interludes and stuff like that. I'm an acoustic player first, so that's where my heart kind of lies at some point, but I do like the brutal.
Making some new songs, and then the second phase is playing them live.
This will be the second phase, and the first phase is technically out.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, we still need more new songs.
we do.
Yeah.
Where do you envision playing in terms of venues?
Oh man.
Sonosphere in Sofia, Bulgaria.
Well, even South there, let's go to Reading.
That's also good.
Reading Festival.
But yeah, just, I mean, probably if Webster Hall ever opens up again, definitely there again, and then Irving Plaza, Gramercy, Terminal 5. If we can swing the Garden at some point, that'd be great too. But
Ultimate goal.
no, Sonosphere. That's a room of 1 million people.
All right. Boss battle.
More than 1 million people, I think. I don't
Boss
know.
battle.
Would you guys do an outdoor concert in the Bronx?
Yes.
Love to.
Where do you envision that being in the Bronx? Pelham Bay Park?
Anywhere that will tell us not to turn down.
Yeah. Noise is a great concern for some of these outdoor venues.
I like to be loud.
Favorite films that you would love your music to be in the soundtrack?
Crossroads.
Like, just imagine.
When you brought that up, I love that movie so much.
Yeah.
Steve Vai, Ralph Macchio, stellar.
Yeah. Maybe like even some like Marvel movies, man, like Avengers or something. Why not?
Maybe Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Any advice for any aspiring artists in the Bronx?
Find what you love, keep doing it. Anyone tells you otherwise, punch them in the face, or just don't do that. Just do it quietly.
Definitely practice, 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 and find people to practice with. That's one of the best ways to progress.
Surround yourself with like-minded individuals with a common, well, not a common ambition, just general ambition, I'll say. And yeah, just keep each other going. Humans are fuel for other humans, in a non-cannibalistic sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for having us. Just want to say that. I'm Jay Mercado, and this is
I'm Nigel Castro.
the guitar players from the band Xeria. And yeah, thanks for having us. So,
I haven't played this in a while.
well, we're gonna figure this out right now then.
Oh.
Fall.
How's it feeling?
Feels good. I'll try these amps. I really hope your guitar's in tune.
We'll find out soon enough. I dig it. It's like just some ass chord progression.
You do it. Do it.
Nice, nice.
Just play the progression.
That was like a good start, right?
That was cool. That was nice. So now it's your turn to show, right?
Start coming to the camera slowly. What are you doing?
Sure. Yeah, it's so hard to play on a 7 string. It's hard to play on a 7
Get
string.
heavy. Would you believe I wrote that today?
That was like on the spot.
Did you like the way it sounded?
Yeah.
You remember this one?